Good people. Hope everybody's having a good time. Welcome back to another episode of the Three Sided Coin. I am your host, Corey D, with my beautiful, as always, lovely lady co-host.
Thank you, Jess Bree. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. All right. So, man, today's topic, it's a good one for me. I think it would be a good one for you. Um, we probably have a long, long session on this one here. But let's talk about Um, do highly educated people with degrees, multiple degrees, look down upon people who don't have them, you know? Um, so that's definitely something I think we can address that, especially in light of, some of the things that have been said through social media and such as of the last week. Um, but before we get into that, if you you know, like the content, so people at home watching, if you like the content, um, definitely hit those three buttons: the like button, subscribe button, and that bell icon notification for upcoming episodes. All right. So, do people with higher education degrees look down upon people who do not have higher educational degrees? What do you think? Just off the cusp, that one question. What do you think? Yes or no?
I think no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Why not?
I don't think it's a matter of looking down. So I think it stems from the I don't know if she's a TV personality, a journalist, whatever. Her comments about not wanting to date a bus driver, but I don't think it's a matter of looking down. But it's like myself, I want to be married. Okay, so I think big picture. So it's not that I think I'm better than anyone, and it's not a guy that I'm like, okay, because you don't have a degree, you're undateable, you're not a contender for marriage. But I look at your potential to earn, your potential, like, and your background too. So if you got some stripes in your background, that may be some hurdles in you being able to like be like, for me, security, it comes down to security. Can you provide and protect? Are there some barriers in the way due to your background, or it's not really about your lack of education? So it's not the degree that matters. It's really, I'm looking at your ambition, your follow through, how you are able to manage yourself first before you think about being able to link up and build something with me.
hmm Okay. So it has for you, it has nothing to do with their academic achievements.
No, because no, it's a lot of other factors. It doesn't have to do with your academic achievements. No, not at all. I
Okay,
think I'm
okay.
a stronger educator than most educators that I've worked with, but a lot of them have higher levels of education than I do. I simply have my bachelor's, but I've worked with individuals who have masters, who have doctorates, and I don't know if they could teach their way across the room. So,
Mm,
and
yeah.
that's different from earning potential. So I
hmm
guess it comes down to what you're looking for. Like, is your security in the form of finances and at a certain level, a certain income level? So I guess it comes down to those factors.
hmm Okay. Interesting.
Do you agree? You disagree?
Well, I can't disagree with one's personal feelings or take on certain things. No, I can't disagree with that. That's that, and, that's that individual. As for that, the woman you addressed, what's her name? Um, Ebony K. Williams. That's it. With regard to her comments, that's her preference. I wouldn't get in an uproar about that. I mean, I don't think anybody should get in an uproar about someone's preference. But people do. That's just reality. People do. And I've seen that. You've seen that. I think everybody watching has seen people get in an uproar about somebody else's preference. Um, as far as what they want as an individual from their partner. So you've seen that. Um, do I think people with higher education degrees look down upon people who don't have those degrees as if they, you're not as sophisticated as I. Um, I've run across a lot, and I'm an educator as well, and I've run across a lot of that, even in the field. I even had people try to pull that card and, well, I have this PhD and this is why I'm, where I am and I know best. And you're right, you put them in a classroom situation, they can't get through class, let me take attendance. I mean, you know, it's so much that goes into it. It's not just what your degree is, it's the practice. What's your education level? Because I could take those same people and I love to do this to them. Really? You got these wonderful degrees? Come on with me. And I'll pop the hood of my truck or my car or whatever and be like, hey, can you help me fix my engine? Let me see what that paperwork can do about this, you know. And well, that's not my area. I said, well, you can't say that your education is, higher enough. I've humbled a lot of people doing that. So, and I do it just to spite them. Absolutely, just to spite them because I'm petty. I'm petty. But I do it to bring them back down. Remember, just because you're educated in one area does not mean you can cover another. You're as highly educated in another. And earning potential, as you were talking about, these are, your specific criteria. So when you meet someone, that's what you discuss. Those are the things you talk about, hopefully those are the things you talk about. And those are the things you are assessing as you're going forward. But yeah, I've definitely seen and I've had to, fix the mindsets of people who have these, higher level degrees and they do look down upon people who don't have them. It's not, um, I think but I think it comes down to that individual's character and what they need as a level of validation for themselves to make themselves feel good.
So I think it's part of that is like what I mentioned, like the things that I look at, it's not necessarily your current income or education level, but earning potential is a part of that. But I think along with that, people associate certain character traits. So if you don't have like a go-getter attitude, you're not hardworking, you're not a person who's determined to see something through. I think that's a false parallel to make and to assume. But is there a correlation there sometimes? So, like, I have someone that's pursuing me, and you don't have to have a degree, but you're saying, the things that you want, the things that you're working toward, I'm going to be a partner in that. And sometimes I'm evaluating, like, how? It's like, okay, I'm gonna make
Mm,
sure I'm taking care of you. Like, how you can't afford, like, it's not a problem. I can afford my phone bill, but you can't even afford my phone bill. So, like, how you gonna take care of me? You can't promise me the world and you can't deliver any of it. So, I mean, I don't know.
mm. So is it on them to provide for you, or is there a way that you can work with them to build it together?
There's a way, like I said, I look at ambition
Mm,
and follow through, but
mm,
also I look at how you keep things in perspective
mm,
and your line of what being realistic and also being ambitious, because I really get annoyed when you overpromise and underdeliver. Like,
mhm,
so just like if I meet you wherever I meet you and I accept you at that level and you say, okay, these are the things I'm working on for myself. This is what I like, cool. But don't jump to grandeur. And sometimes I feel like that overpromising is just to keep me there. Like maybe the intention is good, but I mean the path to hell is paved with good intention. Like, you know, I'm looking at your habits. I'm looking at your character. And we all stumble. So you being at a certain position in a certain job at a certain income level is not an indication of your character, because you may
mm.
have been there and you may can get there. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm mostly concerned with.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. You know. Ah, we got a little visitor.
Yes, my
Hi.
niece is a nephew are here. And
All
goodbye. Say
right.
hello and say goodbye. Hello, goodbye.
All right. Have a good one. Nah, it was good to have family around sometimes.
Isn't it?
Sometimes. Yeah.
So,
But
I mean, I think the way she now what's bad about Ebony K. Williams, she tried to backpedal on what she said and tried to clean it up. And I don't think like the core of what she said is wrong. Like if that's her preference, that's her preference. And if you don't like it,
mhm,
you don't like it. You ain't the person that should be targeting her to date her if you got a problem with it.
I
But
agree.
on the flip side, other people were talking about Iyanla's comments, like, she did a little announcement like I would date the bus driver as long as he loved his mama and as long as he worked good and blah. And I think those core traits, the older I get, they matter so much. But
Hmm.
so does being having somewhere to live and
Hmm.
whatever.
No, I totally agree with you with that. Like, absolutely. You know, I'm
I
looking
think
at.
on both ends for men and women, they worry. I think the
Mhm,
worry is if you're religious, the worry is being, I guess, unevenly yoked, but maybe not on a spiritual level. Like I think sometimes if we take that spiritual part away from it, being unevenly yoked, like nobody wants to feel like they're taking care of somebody else. Even men who have established themselves, that's a big concern. Is that I don't want someone who's just coming along for a free ride. Like you weren't shooting with me in the gym. Why would you be benefiting from anything that I worked on?
yeah, but that's how the society's laws are translated in modern times. You got to remember, we are literally operating on laws that were established well over 100 years ago. you know, they've been updated to some degree, but in a lot, I would say in a lot of cases, especially family court cases, family law, they have not been upgraded to where there is true equality. And I think that's something that may be coming down the pike, you know, that may be something seriously coming down the pike. So, you know, you just got to see. I mean, you just got to
Well, I
see.
think the issue is in villainizing people for operating with where we're at right now. And so if I have a preference, if I said I want scrubs, I don't want somebody who live with their mama, I don't want somebody who's single but living with their baby mama. Like if I have this list of things, well, we should really address is what are the factors that create such this divide? Because I think originally when it was put out, it was the topic wasn't do people, it was do women, and if we look at the stats, maybe so, because along with that, Black women earn more degrees at a higher rate than Black men. So then when we're
Hmm.
looking at that, when there's a vast difference in the numbers of who's in this category versus this one, who's in this socioeconomic status, or who's in this category of being highly educated individuals, when those numbers are skewed, now what are we talking about?
Hmm. So, right, because what we get is the pairing of the two. Oh, you have all these degrees going all the way up to XYZ, yet you also come with that debt. So it doesn't look um, logistically for a male partner. It doesn't look financially sound as a business move because this is what you're bringing in. Yes, you have the education. Yes, you can
Wait,
achieve.
wait, wait.
Also, no, I'm talking about the pairing. I'm talking about the pairing. All right. You
Because
brought it
she
up.
has debt because of the higher ed.
Yes.
No, I was
Yes.
talking about simply like because you're in that, like it's the same with men. Like if you have some type of degree or some type of certification, some advanced degree, the likelihood of you earning, it's just a correlation of your earning potential is higher. So your debt window may be higher, especially if you come from the same background. But it's the fact of I'm talking about just simply the number of women. who are educated, who are earning higher ed degrees versus the
But
number
this is
of
the thing
black
I would like
men.
to know. But I think it goes into the field. What are these higher education degrees in? What are the backgrounds? That's what I think we should look at because it doesn't take us, I mean, yeah, if you want to do like astrophysics and rocket science, well, yeah, I think you would need a PhD. You need to be on that level. That's that particular field requires that level of dedication and focus to get to that. But what are these degrees in? And that's because that affects and that informs earning potential. Are these business degrees? Are these law degrees? Are these education degrees? Are these nursing degrees? Are these engineering degrees? Are these um, medical degrees? What are these higher level degrees in? What fields? Because those fields are vast. You could have a bachelor's degree and be a police officer, you know, and or you can have no degree and work for the CIA, you know.
But I think we jumped issues. My only like that's another sub part of the topic, but my only inquiry, because originally the question wasn't pitched out as do people with higher degrees originally, and you started out with your response of pointing out how men and women who have higher ed degrees
Oh
kind of
yeah,
look down,
that.
and
But
then
that's
I
why I
talked
switched
about
it to
those character
people.
traits, but I'm just
Hmm.
talking about simply not like before we break down what is the degree in, how much debt does that carry potentially versus how much you can earn potentially, I'm just talking about simply the sheer number. We know that
Hmm.
way more. I don't have the stats in front of me
Hmm.
to do it live, but the number of Black women who earn higher ed degrees is greater, far greater than the number of Black men. So I'm saying
Hmm.
it's part of that, not just like your earning potential or the debt that comes with it, but there's far more women who are in that class, Black women, than there are Black men. So now we're
Okay,
looking
so
at,
do those
we have all
black
these
women look down
factors.
upon those black men who don't have those higher education degrees?
What was that?
Do those black women look down upon those black men who do not have higher
Yeah, and
education
I think
degrees?
that's part of, yeah, the venom that is being spewed at Ebony K. Williams, because it's not just someone, it's a Black woman. And then the narrative gets painted once again, these bougie Black bitches who think they all that, who got this and that going on, looking down. And that's why your ass single. That's why you ain't got kids. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Because part of me is being single on purpose. Part of me not having kids. It's not that I look down on those people. It's not that I would look down on a bus driver, but I do look at some factors of like how well can we have something together? How, what would that garner? And is that wrong?
That's your preference. No, I have a rebuttal for it, but it's a cruel and hurtful rebuttal. But it's a fact, and the thing is, and it's cruel, and
Okay, I want to hear the cruel and
it's not just it's
hurtful
not a
fact.
it's a factual thing, and it does not apply to just women. It applies to men as well. Is what you're doing or is how you're viewing working for you? And that's where it comes to. Because if you want X, Y, and Z, and here's your line of, this is why I'm not compromising. I'm not going to um, give in to any, anything. Basically, I'm just not going to make any compromises. I'm not going to waver in any of my decisions upon this particular line. These are the lines where it's a hard line. I'm not going to allow myself to go back on that. Then it comes down to, is that working for you in achieving all the things that you want to achieve? I ain't worried about, you know, but again, this is why I said, and this it goes against men and women. It The original question when we talked about it off was, do women look down upon men with degrees? I was like, wait a minute, because I've had to get on guys for doing that same thing. So I can't just leave that like all women do this. That's why I changed it up. Do people with higher level degrees look down upon people who do not have higher level degrees? All right. Um, Quote by Dr. Bill Cosby, Dr. William Cosby. I know I'm going to quote him on this particular thing because he's told a story many years back at graduation, my college graduation. And the story he told was when he probably told it a billion other places, but the story he told was when, he was, you know, being one first in college and he's going to his psych professor, and his psych professor would come in and ask a question, and his class would go crazy trying to come up with an answer. And, professor gave a rule, say if you get the answer correct, you don't have to come back to class anymore. It was a philosophy class. And he got a question, and the question that the professor asked the entire class on a particular day, he took a glass of water or a pitcher, he poured it halfway full or empty, halfway up. And he asked that age-old question: is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? And the class went berserk on it. Nobody got the actual answer for it. He goes to his grandmother, who had absolutely no formal education, not even primary school. And he asked her this when she asked him, what did he learn in school? And he's looking down upon her. His exact words: I'm looking down upon her with my high education and such. And here's this woman, okay, I'm gonna humor her. So he poured her the glass and he said, well, grandma, this is what my professor asked. And he's, thinking he's here over a woman with a no formal education whatsoever, but he had plenty of life experience. But here was, his mindset, and looking down upon someone that close to you. And she barely glanced at the glass when he asked her the question: is the glass half empty or the glass half full? And she barely looked at it while she was doing something else. And she says to him, while she's still doing the other thing, well, I guess it depends on whether you're pouring or drinking. He took that answer to school that next week when they came back to the class for debate, and he didn't have to go back to that class again. It was a reminder then to not let, for us, these pieces of paper that say we are here, for us to not, or for us to be mindful not to look down upon the people who don't achieve those things as an educational level. Because I have very good friends who chose not to go to school, male friends who chose not to go to school, and they are doing great. They have been, they came out, some went and got their CDL, some went to trade schools. They work on their own shops, they own their own businesses, they're making vast amounts of money doing their thing, and they've had tons of experience. We go to school 4 years, and they came out in that 4 years. These guys have 4 years of actual real world business experience. Building their honing their craft and building their businesses, and they were able to move into having their own. Like, they run their own. These are now business owners, and they've grown in that time frame. Whereas here you are, people going back and getting more and more degrees because you're going to go work for someone else. So it comes down to, you're still looking down at people here, but is it an education thing? Is it based on that, or is it just where your circle is?
Well, is it looking down? So I don't know, everyone I know who has some higher ed, they like all of us have family who does not. So it's not to look down on anyone, but does that mean I want to marry them? And I think that's two different things.
Well, are they in your circle? That's when I mean when I mean circle. You said earlier about being equally yoked. All right, is that, let's remove all financial responsibilities on that. Okay, what would equally yoked look like to you, as far as like conversations, communication, habits, lifestyles, interests, you know, those real tangible things, that you can have, and build connections with people. That's kind of what I'm thinking of when people say equally yoked. It's, where are those character traits that align with one another? more than the financial. That's what I'm thinking when I hear equally yoked.
I
But
agree, but I
that's
think it's like a balance. So it is
hmm
some type of connection beyond like, yeah, the tangible and physical things, but it is balance. So it's in the communication style, understanding. It really is individualized. You really got to get to know the person you with and the partner. But that's why I say I look at character over income or like level of education, because one, I have a profession. I have a degree, but my degree and my profession doesn't garner me six wages. Uh, so, like that's another thing too. So I'm in a profession that, I mean, in one regard, it has some reverence in our society. But in financial payout, they ain't honoring us there. So
oh, hell no.
so
Go ahead.
there are several people who are non-degreed who make more money than I do. So I'm not disillusioned by that. So that's why I say I look at character, because one,
hmm
my income isn't all of that. But it's the character. It's like that's what I'm looking at. And when it comes to someone who's trying to pursue me to date me, or who says they would like to like have a family, overall, number one, I'm looking at your ambition. So it's not
hmm
like what you do, it's like what are your goals and how do you work toward them. Like that's what I'm in, your follow through. So not just a dreamer, not just an optimistic person, not somebody who can see like a way up, a way out, but like, do you actually take steps to go
hmm
through and do these things?
hmm
Like if you tell me one thing, I look at your word. Is it binding? Are you careful? Are you considerate when you speak with me about me? Do you really think about like how well you know me and how that fits into alignment with what my goals are? And then are you just talking, or do you do?
hmm
So I agree, like, so many factors to it. It's a factory worker who makes way more money than I do. So
Yeah. We are winding it down. Any final thoughts before we close out this?
I mean, it reminded me like the week before, everybody was up in arms about the brat, which again, like there are so many factors. Like you said, there's an education factor, but I'm
Mhm,
glad to see like but we fit in the same demographic of people we're discussing. But in my experience, like, do I have to check attitudes and
mhm,
assumptions with interacting with certain people? I can take accountability and say, yeah,
mhm,
sometimes there can be an assumption of a lower character. Not
mhm,
necessarily that I'm better than people, but I'm very deliberate about who I allow in my environment. So
mhm.
I do have to check my biases. I do.
Right.
But especially when it comes in terms of dating me, I'm looking at the character, but uh, but it's some things too that matter. Like,
I
I'm not
got you.
materialistic, but I want to live in a certain neighborhood. By the time I have kids, I'm old now. I don't have good excuses to be having struggles with my kids at this point. So, like, we
Mhm,
gotta come correct. Like, I mean, it's just certain things like
mhm. I
that I
got
would be
you.
ridiculous at this point to
Mhm,
like find myself struggling in.
mhm. I got you. I totally get it. Well, love is as always. I love our conversations. I can't wait to get this one out. Yo, but again, if you saw people watching at home, please chime in, man. Give us some comments. You can give
Let
some
us know.
feedback. Give
Are
some
we
topics.
judgy? Are we looking down
Oh,
on people? Let us know in the
trying to
comments. What do y'all
play.
think?
Yes,
Do people call y'all
absolutely.
bougie because y'all got preferences?
Hey, I don't care which is true. Some people like people with bad breath. I don't know. Jacked up feet. Who knows? That's a preference. It's out there. No. But anyway, definitely people at home watching and checking it out, man. Leave some comments below. Let us know, what you like, dislike. If you want to hear more, if you have some topics you would like us, cover, we're definitely watching and we interact as well. All right. Again, if you like the episode, you want to hear more from us, definitely hit those three buttons: that like, subscribe, and that bell icon for notifications updated. All right. And peace. Three-sided coin. We still spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. Love you, love. Mwah.
See ya.